Hey YouTube, it's Angie, also known as Granny Witch 73, and I'm coming to you from my kitchen. Today I'm making cranberry sauce, and I'll just show you what I got cooking in here. I've got two 12-ounce bags of cranberry sauce, so that's 24 ounces of cranberries right there, and a cup and a half of sugar. I've got a tea bag, dark chocolate chai tea. I dropped in there. I made a little sachet of ginger powder out of a tea bag that I cannibalized. I took all the tea out of it, cut a hole in the top, and I threw it all in there. And this is the ginger sachet, and then the tea bag's in here too. And I'm cooking that all together with a couple of pinches of cayenne pepper. My cayenne pepper. And that's pretty much all I've got in here. And you can hear them popping. So I'm going to stick the lid back on so that it doesn't pop and make a mess. Hi, so as I said, in my pot I have the cranberry mixture, and I'm just kind of experimenting with different flavors for my cranberry sauce. The traditional way that I make cranberry sauce is with like a couple of sticks of cinnamon. I always use ginger in my cranberry sauce. I just like the taste of ginger and cranberries. And I always put a pinch of cayenne pepper in it. You can't taste the cayenne pepper in the sauce, but it kind of, it develops the flavors, and it kind of heightens the flavor of the cranberries and the ginger and the cinnamon. And it's that little note in the background that people are going, what is that? And they can never recreate it, and I don't tell anybody, so shh, don't tell anybody. But my son Collin loves my cranberry sauce, and he is hosting Yule this year because I live in this little tiny apartment, and I can't have the whole family here. I have 4 kids, and they have kids now. 2 of them have kids now, and we've got boyfriends and girlfriends that are wanting to come, and by the end of it all we have almost like 25 people that we have to host, and I can't have them all in this little tiny apartment because there's just no room. I don't even have room to put a table for like a dinner in my apartment. So my son Collin is hosting it this year. He's all excited, and he's asked me to bring the cranberry sauce, and I make a broccoli casserole that my boyfriend's aunt created, and I've put my own signature on because I added in the broccoli casserole. It's basically herb and garlic cream cheese, broccoli, cauliflower, cream of I think it's cream of mushroom soup was the original recipe. I've added cream of broccoli and cream of chicken to that recipe with my own, like in the recipe it calls for an entire container of herb and garlic cream cheese and a whole bunch of other cheeses, and I've cut that in half because, and my boyfriend doesn't know. He doesn't even realize that it's been cut in half. It tastes exactly the same. It's just not as full of cholesterol as it was before. Mind you, it's a really good recipe. You can make as much or as little as you want, but she puts hers through the blender, so it's kind of like a soup, sort of like a sauce. But mine, I like the chunks. I like the chunks of broccoli and cauliflower to stay chunks. So I cut them down small, but I don't put them through the blender. Anyways, as I was saying, this will cook for about a half an hour to an hour, and the berries will get like nice and mushy. A lot of people will put the berries through after they've done their sauce, will put it through a food processor to make it smooth. I like having the chunks in it. I like the berry chunks, and you know, if you're buying berries at the grocery store in the bags, and I always bring them home and wash them and take them out of the bags and put them into another container because I don't like leaving them in the bags even though there's holes. It just, to me, it seems like they go rotten faster. And when I buy stuff, buy it with the intention of actually making something, and then I forget I have it. And so, anyways, I am all of my recipes that I have been inventing over the years or tweaking or whatever I've put down in this book. See? And my intention is that once I've collected all of my recipes and invented, like once I get to a certain amount, I'm going to make them into 4 recipe books. I'm going to get them bound and put into an actual book for my kids. Each of them will get a copy. And the reason I'm doing that is because when I was a kid, my grandmother, this time of year, she would be doing all her preserves, and she would have her pies and everything coming out. She would spend weeks, and at her kitchen table, which was an old butcher block kitchen table, would be covered in different stages of baking and cooking and preserves. So the problem was she never wrote anything down. Everything was just as I do it. It's a pinch of this and a pinch of that. And it was never written down. So when Grandma actually passed on, her recipes went with her. And she made the best dill pickles in the world, in my opinion. And she would make me my very own batch of dill pickles, my very own container. She put my name on it and everything. And she put it down in her root cellar, and I have no idea how to recreate that recipe because I was just a little kid when she stopped making them after my grandfather died. And when she died, I had just had my daughter, so I was probably 18 years old, and I think I was pregnant for my second child, and my husband and I spent some time in her house before they sold it. I used to be terrified of her basement. I have a claustrophobic nature, and I don't like basements, period, but her basement was creepy. It was dirt floor basement. It had sub pump off in the corner, and the sub pump growled. I don't care what anybody says. It was haunted down there. And there was always something running around down there. The house was built by my grandpa, and the joke was that the house was built by a drunk man, so I'm assuming that's probably not so much a joke. But Grandma had all her preserves down there. And I got brave one night and went down and looked to see what was down there, and there was a jar of pickles on the shelf with my name on it from like the year before she died, and it was like finding treasure. I took them because they had my name on it, and because it was the last thing that my grandma ever made. And I kept them for months. I never even opened them. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to open and eat them because then they'd be gone, and it was the last thing she ever did. My ex-husband and my roommate got drunk one night and ate all of them while I was asleep. And the next morning I cried like a baby because the jar of pickles was gone. And so it was the last thing that I ever had from my grandma. So to try and save that heartache with my kids, I am creating them their own cookbooks so that they can follow the recipes that I make. Now, everything that I make, as I said, is a pinch of this and a pinch of that, so I have to guesstimate on how much of what goes into each recipe. I'm usually pretty good. Like the palm of my hand is about a teaspoon, like this little part here, and a little bit more would be a tablespoon, right? So that's how I go with the thing. If I have to, measure water into anything or any liquids into anything, I usually use a measuring cup, and I will write down like exactly what I've put in it, and my estimation on how much of what goes in. But when it comes to the cranberry sauce, it's fairly straightforward. Like if you put about a tablespoon of ginger powder into a tea bag and tie it up and throw it in, by the end of the brewing, uh, by the end of the brewing part, whatever. Sorry, I just had well, I call it mommy brain, but I'm not a mommy anymore. My kids have all moved out, so I have no excuses. It's just old brain. But I had a senior's moment just now. Um, by the time this is done cooking down and getting thick and everything, and you remove the tea bags, the flavor is infused in the sauce. So, there's no more measuring after that. You don't have to worry about, you know, that's really good. Sorry, that wasn't very classy. But like I said, I've added a couple things like the chai tea. I don't normally do, and when I do ginger, I usually use ginger root, fresh ginger root, and a couple of slices of that. I take the bark off of it, and I'll throw it in and let it cook right into the sauce, and then pull it out afterwards. And as I said, I don't put my stuff through the food processor. I just leave it the way it is. Put it in a jar, which, in my house, there's only my son and I who will eat it. And the people that we've had come for Yule, they've also enjoyed it in some form or another. My son Ryan found it in my fridge one day, and he thought it was jam. He started making it on toast, and so we called it cran jam, because once he realized it was cranberry sauce, he had a bit of a freak out, and he still ate it, so he must have liked it. He said, "Mom, your jam tastes funny." I said, "Honey, that's not jam. That's cranberry sauce. You shouldn't, if it's in a mason jar, it's not jam that I bought at the store." So that was his here's your sign moment. Alright, so as I said, this is going to cook down. Just a housekeeping note. You see how stained my wooden spoon is? Don't put your utensils straight down on your counter. And if you're like me and you don't wear an apron, try to make sure that you're going to be wearing something that's not, dear to you, because the cranberries, when they pop, will splatter you at some point. Now, I'm wearing a house dress that I bought not long ago, and I love the dress, but I'm very careful. And as you can see, the top is red, so if it splatters me, it's not really a big deal. But anyways, once I get everything together and it's ready to go in the jar, I'll show you again how it looks. Now, as I said, you don't have to go by my exact recipes. You can make it your own. You can put your own signature on any of the recipes that I put on here. Everybody else does, and I wouldn't be offended at all, because as my culinary teacher once told me, nobody ever follows a recipe to the letter, because when you get comfortable cooking, you're going to find that you do things your way, and your own signature will be on everything you make. So that's the philosophy I live by. That's how I cook. And so there'll be a part 2 to this, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so my sauce is ready, and I've pulled out the tea bags. All the goodness that has once in those tea bags is now in my sauce. So let's just set that aside. I'm going to show you how to prepare your jars for canning. This is the lazy man's way of doing it. I sterilize my jars before I put anything in them, obviously, but I use my kettle. I don't boil them and put them in the canner, because I don't have one. But yeah, so my kettle's about to boil now, and you want to sterilize the inside and the rim of your jar and your lid. So I've got the lid in the bowl, and I've got this in a bowl as well, so that, you know, in case of spillage, it doesn't get all over the place, it doesn't make a huge mess. You just dump the water on top, and you're going to want to let it sit for a minute or two. And I fill the jar all the way up to the top, and let it sit for a minute or two. Boiling water will kill just about any bacteria there is, if there's anything on your jar, your lid. It will also help the seal, because when you put hot liquids in this and then you put the lid on right away, you'll hear a pop when it's all cooled down and ready to go. So I'm going to take out my lid. Only a couple of minutes needed, because I'm going to turn it over and let it dry a little bit. Dump this out. And this is a little bit more tricky, because you're going to want to have some good oven mitts. These jars get really, really hot. And I wouldn't want to see anybody burn themselves doing something that I told them to do, so, or that I showed them how to do. It would make me feel really bad. So it's simple as that. You now I will take and put my sauce into a measuring cup before I pour it into the jar. I used to ladle it out, but it made a huge mess, and so now I will put it into a measuring cup with the ladle or a spoon, and once it's in the measuring cup, I'll pour it in. This is a 2-quart jar. It's a pretty big jar, so I'm hoping that all of my sauce will fit into this one jar. And like I said, this is the Franken sauce that I'm making, because Frankenberry sauce. Is anybody my age remember Frankenberry cereal? Frankenberry Count Chocula blueberry cereal. I don't know what happened to that, but when I was a kid I ate it. I wasn't too much into the chocolate, but I love the blueberry. So you dump this in. This is a 2-cup measuring cup, and if you're going to use a measuring cup to do this, make sure it's a heat-proof one, because you don't want to have it crack on you halfway through what you're doing. It's really good. I didn't expect this to come out as good as it did, because I was adding some elements to it that I had never done before. But it has. Now, I didn't show you earlier, but I wash my hands constantly when I'm cooking, so, and I didn't think I needed to mention it, but just in case I do, you should wash your hands frequently when you're in the kitchen, because, you know, cross-contamination and all that. You don't really want to be making something, and then if you have anybody who has allergies in the house, and say you have somebody who's got peanut allergies, and you're making something that may or may not have nut traces of nut in it, and then you don't wash your hands, and whoever's got that allergy is going to get sick. So yeah, that just fits. Now, when my kids were at home, my son would be the first one to come and clean up this cup for me, but we don't have anybody in the house anymore that likes this stuff. My boyfriend tried it and he made a face. Excuse me. And he was, I don't know, very, very picky about what he eats. I try to get my kids and everybody who eats at my house to try new things. Excuse me. And they don't always listen to me. Nobody ever listens to me. Then I get, later on I'll hear, "You were right, Mom." And I'll go, "Well, if you listen to me the first time." But, you know, that's the way it goes when you have kids. And not all the kids that don't listen to me are mine. Some of them are, as I call them, my wayward kids, my wayward sons and daughters, who over the years my son Collin has collected, brought them by the house, and they've become like part of our lives, for good. So, I don't have any problem with that. I love kids, and when my kids were growing up, one of the biggest issues I had was not knowing where they were or who they were hanging out with. I was a very cautious mom. We moved here from the country, smaller town. I lived in Coburg with the kids for a long time, and I moved to Oshawa, and I couldn't let them out of my sight. I was terrified every time they left the house. Anyways, I got over it. They got older. My kids are now adults. They're all in their 20s. So, anyways, this is it. 2 quarts, 24 ounces of berries, about 2 pinches, which would be maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 chai tea bag, dark chocolate chai tea, 1 tablespoon in a tea bag of ginger, and about 2 cups of sugar, half a cup of water, and voila, that's it. That's all there is to it. You can make it as simple or as easy as you like. Sorry, as simple as or complicated as you like, but really it's not. Nothing is as complicated as people make it seem, so it's all up to you. And that's going to sit on the counter and cool, and like I said, once that cools, the lid will pop and it will seal. So that's the lazy man's way of making preserves. Now, this preserve is going to go to my son, and he's probably going to have it all gone before Yule, so I will have to make more. And I don't mind. I like to cook, so. And I'm also making, like I said, the broccoli casserole. When I make that, I will do another video. And that's it. That's everything. So, have a good day, YouTube, and blessed be. And I hope that your day is sunny and bright.